Howdy everyone. Today I will be doing a kind of a little guide slash Atziri run on my Glacial Cascade character. So this is the one I played in the last video, and it's crit Glacial Cascade. As you can see, it kind of does all types of damage, but the main two it starts out with is cold and physical. So right now I do have a 6 link on my Glacial Cascade, which sits right there. It's level 20, 20 quality. 20 quality is kind of important, but not that big a deal. It's just area damage, so it's just a bit more damage. To the 6 link I've attached Spell Echo, one of the most important, added Chaos, faster casting, increased area, and cold to fire. So in the order of use, I would say it's faster casting, Spell Echo, then added Chaos, then increased area, then cold to fire. Cold to fire is used because it converts a lot of my damage into fire, which then gets mitigated by Arctic armor for reflect purposes. On top of that, it's actually a very large DPS boost because you gain 29% of cold as extra fire damage. So as you can see, 29.7k, take that out, 25k. So you do gain a bit of DPS while also making it much safer to do reflect with. And I don't have Vile Pact or Life Leech anywhere, and that's why that's important. Added chaos damage adds quite a lot of damage, as well as also not adding to reflect, which is why it's used here. So you can see 29.7, remove it, we're down to 23.9. It's a very useful gem slot. As well as that, the cast damage doesn't get resisted by anything, so it bypasses or resists, and as well as that, whenever you pop Atziri's Promise, you leech that extra chaos as life, so it's a really good leech mechanism too. Pop it, go up to almost 1,000 chaos damage there, average, and a lot of good extra DPS. Increased area is your 5th link. It's kind of a luxury, but it feels really good to get it. That's without, with increased area. That's without. So increased area for Glacial Cascade both increases the length and the width of the spell. And on top of that, you can then sub in Conk Effect over increased area for boss fights, which is what I currently do, so that's why increased area is used there. So anyway, I'll kick off with an Atziri run and show you how absolutely face roll this character is at this point. I'm using 2 daggers. These are pretty damn cheap, or you can make them yourself, because they're just not in demand, so you can buy them pretty cheap. So the important things there are spell damage, high crit spell crit, and crit multi, mana regen. If you want, you can get some life leech on them too from Katarina. Aside from that, other gear is good pair of Malakaras, just some regular ass boots, crit rings with life, mana regen, and some resists if possible, and your usual multi-crit amulet. Getting dexterity is kind of hard on the build, so this amulet's pretty important for me. As well as that, cold Dorianis. Taste of Hate's pretty good too. Gives you a slight DPS boost, but also mitigates lots of damage. And my helm is just a helm, but mine's really nice. Found that myself. Using castle and damage taken Mortal Coil setup. On top of that, we do have Val Spark attached to GMP. You can have Echo in there as well, but it's a bit overkill, so I'll just show you Val Spark and GMP. It helps for boss kills. That's the only reason I have it. Our entire defense mechanism is Arctic armor, some decent life, and just killing things quickly. And I get power charges through Hail to Thunder, Curse on Hit, Assassin's Mark. And the other things I have is Purity of Lightning. That's completely flexible. You can have Purity of Lightning, Ice, or Fire. I had Purity of Ice for most of my leveling experience. I'm now 91. I swapped over to Purity of Lightning at level 91, specifically just for a bit safer Atziri kills, I guess. Clarity, Herald of Ice. So these two Herald of Ice and Herald of Thunder give you a pretty good damage boost, so they're worth using. Anyway, without further ado, and for the most part, I have been using Lightning Warp to travel. You can use either Lightning Warp or Whirling Blades. If you're going to use Whirling Blades, though, make sure it's attached to 20/20 faster attacks. Otherwise, it'll still be pretty damn slow, given the base slowness of our daggers. But right now I swapped over to Whirling Blades just because it's a bit easier to dodge Atziri things with over Lightning Warp. But Lightning Warp would serve you better for mapping and all that jazz. And I've been using Lightning Warp for Atziri runs as well. Atziri really doesn't, at my level of gear for this character, you don't need anything extra for Atziri. I completely face roll her if I want to. But I just had an attempt at Uber for the fun of it, which is why I tried to optimize my character for Atziri as much as possible. And if you're curious how that went, I got to... Oh, by the way, power charge 38.4k Glacial Cascade, that's without Conk Effect. With Conk Effect and power charges, I don't know how much it is, but it's something like 58,000. It's pretty strong. Yeah, so my Uber run, I got to Atziri herself and died like halfway through her. But we got that far. It's just really hard to do on a character like this. So for these guys, pop our Valspark. If the Valspark crits, it's game over. If it doesn't, you still have to do some actual killing, but more often than not, you kill them before they go down anyway. It's kind of up to just random crits. Since with the build I have 76% crit with power charges up and 51 or so without. You know, it's at the mercy of the gods whether or not you crit and whether or not some boss fights are easier than others. When you press Valspark, it has a chance to either crit or not crit at the start of the cast. So if it rolls a crit roll, which for me is 1 in 2 almost, because I have something like 50% crit on my Valspark. If it rolls crit, all the sparks will crit, and that means you will obliterate everything. If it does not roll crit, nothing crits, and it kinda hits like a wet noodle, given that this is a crit build. So you quite often have a 50-50 chance of either just face rolling a boss fight or encounter, or kinda just having to still play your Glacial Cascade, which isn't too big a deal. For example, with the trio here, if it crits, it's an absolute face roll, and I don't have to do almost anything. If it doesn't crit, I can still very easily take care of them. So there goes a crit roll. And that's just about as easy as that's ever going to get on any of my characters. So Glacial Cascade, as far as Atziri clearing goes, this build for me has been one of the best Atziri clearing for speed and DPS. But it falls short sometimes just because of pathing issues for Glacial Cascade itself. It doesn't go over obstacles and, you know, stairs and bullshit like that. So sometimes you'll be caught up on random little objects and not kill quite as quickly as maybe some other skills would. In general though, Glacial Cascade is a really strong skill, and I'm super surprised at how well this character turned out. It was either going to be Freeze Pulse or Glacial Cascade, and I tried both of them extensively. Yeah, like I swapped between both of them many times. And in the end I just concluded that Cascade is a bit stronger in my current setup than Freeze Pulse. The main problem is that with Freeze Pulse you have to be pretty up close to do most of your damage. if you're not right next to an enemy, you're not doing anywhere near as much damage as Cascade would. So Cascade's just a safer option. But on top of that, Cascade actually does much better single target damage. I've ended up finding. Just because, like, big heavy boss like Atziri there. Hold on a sec. So what happens here is if you crit her, like, if you crit just about anything, she dies. If you don't crit, it's kind of a bit slow. I always go for the spear ad. So this one here, I run around, wait till the first flame blast is dropped, get the spear ad. If I crit, she dies. Pop both your flasks if you need to take any damage. If you run out of flasks, pop in and out. You don't have to, but it'll make it a lot safer, a lot cleaner. Just if you can face tank a few things. So you wait for that first one, go through, kill her real quick, go straight to the next one. Easy does it. So yeah, and Cascade, just like as I was saying, has, I found, a much higher single target DPS when especially using the Conk effect than Freeze Pulse. Just because as you cascade over a certain enemy, it'll hit several times on its way through, and it just ends up doing more damage, even compared to the shotgun damage of Freezing Pulse. And the other thing is you have a fair bit of physical damage on top of that. So that bypasses resists when it crits, etc, etc. So, all in all, this was my Glacial Cascade build. It varies from my Freeze Pulse variant just by taking these area nodes and these area nodes. If you want to go Freeze Pulse, by all means you can. And to do so, you get rid of those area nodes, pick up these two sniper here, and take whatever else you want. You can take more life. You can take elemental damage, you can take spell damage, you can take cast speed, it's all up to you if you choose to go Freeze Pulse instead, because the builds are very, very similar. And lastly, I was using a Carcass Jack up until about level 89. I then bought this 6-link chest because it was A, a 6-link, and B, pretty good price for it. And the reason I got it is because it gives me a lot more mana regen, because it's a high ES hybrid, and it also gives a pretty good decent bit of life and good bit of resists. And with this I can choose to drop my castman damage taken setup if I really want to, and then move all of this over here and wear the Combs boots for stun immunity. It's something I may do in the future for this character, but I thought I'd let you in on my thought process there. Otherwise, Carcass Jack is pretty good, pretty top tier armor for this build. Feel free to use it if you want, if you've got one. I used one all the way up to level 89 and I don't regret it at all. Anyway, so that is the Glacial Cascade character, level 91 Templar. It can be a Templar or a Witch, up to you. And thanks for watching the little video guide, and I'll see you guys next time.